Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Greetings from Business Innovation and Technology Commercialization Center, BITCOM, UiTM, Malaysia. My name is Aisyah Muhammad Yassim and I will be the moderator for this sharing session. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to extend our warm welcome to all and thank you for joining our webinar sharing session on the topic From Ideas to Market, Creating Impacts Through Commercialization of University Research by Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail, President of Akademi Sains Malaysia. Thank you, Datuk, for joining us. The agenda for today start off with an opening speech by Yang Berbahagia Professor Nazib Suratman, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, UiTM. Please welcome Yang Berbahagia Prof.
Thank you very much, Aisyah, for the introductions. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail, President of Akademi Sains Malaysia. Yang berusia Profesor Insinyur Dr. Syed Sateh Asgar Syed Hassan, the Director of Business Innovation Technology Commercialization Center, BITCOM UiTM. Syukur Alhamdulillah, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome all participants across the faculties, campuses, and Center of Excellence of UiTM to today's webinar sharing sessions entitled From Ideas to Market, Creating Impacts Through Commercializations of University Research by Yang Bahagia Professor Datuk Asma Ismail. Thank you very much, Datuk Asma, for taking the time to share knowledge and experience with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, commercialization is a process by which a new product or service is introduced into market. As a major public university, UiTM strives to make a positive impact through knowledge. One important aspect of that impact is our capacity to move research results from the laboratory into the new or improved products and services in the marketplace. Our success in translating research results into practice not only accelerated the beneficial aspect of our research, but also has a major positive impact to our nation's economy. This is an important role for the university in today's knowledge-driven economy. We are rightfully proud of our growing leadership at the frontiers of research, but we should always play a leading role in translating that knowledge into use. UiTM remains fully committed at the highest level to supporting innovation commercialization as part of our strategic plan, UiTM 2025. With millions of ringgits invested in R&D efforts at UiTM each year, commercialization's product UiTM's innovators the opportunity to explore and develop the commercial potential for research and ideas, helping them to transform into products and processes for the innovators' benefits, as well as for the benefit for the university and the humankind. Ladies and gentlemen, spanning across areas such as healthcare, environment, wellness, fitness, education, industrial application, and simply day-to-day life, innovation resulted from the university research are most impactful when they are in the hands of those who can benefit from them most. Overall, societal benefit is the key driver behind commercializing new inventions. Taking innovation to the market through commercialization also provides an economic benefit, whether it be through the licensing of technology to other companies or through the development of new startup companies. Commercialization provides new revenue generations and job creation locally, regionally, or potentially across the globe. In terms of the industrial partnerships, commercialization provides an opportunity to engage with industrial partners, investors, and other businesses. These partnerships can result in additional funding sources to further university research. Oftentimes, the university can serve as supplemental R&D resources to industrial partners who serve as a conduit for translating research to the broader market. In addition, university can generate revenue that can be reinvested into research to cover commercialization-related costs and fund the pursuit of entrepreneurship. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to Bitkom UiTM for their continued efforts to facilitate commercialization of intellectual properties from research product through licensing, patenting, and management of spin-off creations. Again, we'd like to thank Prof. Asma for being here with us today. And on that note, I wish everyone a fruitful and engaging webinar today. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Prof. For everyone's information, this session will start off with a sharing session by Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail, followed by a Q&A session. So, if you have any questions, do drop the questions in the chat box at the site. Okay, before we start off, please take a moment to appreciate a montage compilation of Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail's journey and success stories. Thank you for the beautiful video. Among women scientists, Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail is a pioneer. Yang Berbahagia Datuk is the first woman appointed as the President of Akademi Sains Malaysia, first woman as Vice Chancellor, University Sains Malaysia and University Sains Islam Malaysia, making her the first woman to be appointed twice as Vice Chancellor of Public Universities. Yang Berbahagia too was formerly the first woman appointed as the Director General of Higher Education, Ministry of Higher Education. Yang Berbahagia Datuk, in one of her speeches, the world we live today is different than the one our parents lived in. We see disruptive changes happening at a very rapid pace. Hence, we can no longer groom our future generations and researchers in the mold we set yesterday. Okay? Instead, we need to nurture our future generations and researchers to be job creators rather than job seekers. So here comes and goes well with our excellent topic that will be shared today, entitled From Ideas to Market, Creating Impacts Through Commercialization of University Research. Without further ado, the moment that we all have been waiting for, please welcome Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and a very good morning to everyone in this particular sharing session. My salutations to Professor Muhammad Nazib Suratman, the TNC PNI of UiTM, Professor Said Shate, the head of Bitcom, and to all the participants today. Thank you very much, UiTM and Bitcom, for the kind introduction. I didn't expect the video, but thank you so much for doing the homework. And I appreciate
You're most welcome, Prof.
that is, you know, Aisha, I think that makes my day today. And thank you. So let me try to get the slides up. Let's see. Okay. Sekejap ya. Share. Okay, can you see the slide now?
Coming through? Okay, yeah, we can see the slides.
Can see the slides. Okay, so thank you again for inviting me to share my thoughts on from idea to market, creating impacts through commercialization of university research. And basically, what I'll be doing this morning is to share with you the big picture. We talk so much about the KPI of every university to be actually producing as Professor Nazib was saying, commercialization. Actually, you have to actually look at the real story. I think let's look at reality, and I'm going to share with you reality, and based on this reality, what needs to be done with especially one of the biggest university in Southeast Asia. So amanah for UiTM is very heavy. So with 18,000 pensyarah, there's a lot that you need to do. Then I'm going to share with you about the K economy and the state of the R&D ecosystem. Being as the President of Academy of Sciences, one of the things we do is to study the landscape of RDCIE, EE meaning economy in the country, and we will share with you what is the current state of the R&D ecosystem in Malaysia so that you face the world of reality. And why are we not there yet despite all the grants being made available to the lecturers? What are the, maybe perhaps why we are not there yet is because of the issues and challenges in performing R&D towards commercialization. I will share with you some of these issues and challenges, but I guess during Q&A, you will also share with me what are your issues and challenges that you now face. And then we have now the policy for the country, the national policy on STI that is now launched in 2020, December 2020, and that will cover the entire landscape of what this is all about and how we want to do that via 1010 My STIE that I will share as well. And performing research for commercialization with the aim of creating impact. So all this while you have been doing research with the aim of producing KPI like increasing your publications and increasing your H index and your citation. But now we are changing the paradigm of looking for impact or outcome rather than just output. And that will be another big job for Professor Nazib to actually turn around the mindset of the lecturers here and also for Bitcom. Then I will also share my experience in the commercialization of Typhidot, the rapid diagnostic kit for typhoid, how I went through the thinking. It's not about the glory, but more about the thinking process, because that will be the one that usually people don't share. How do you go about doing this commercialization? So semua tu ada formulanya. So hopefully we share with you today on that. But first of all, let me share with you seeing the big picture first, because kadang-kadang when we live in our own university, we have our own microcosm and we see things from a very small myopic point of view from our university point of view. But in actual fact, you should see that what is affecting and the big picture is actually now also affecting you in the way you doing things in the university. So let's share with you the big picture as well. And first of all, let's look at the global agenda. The global agenda, it has gone from the agricultural age to the industrial age, and we are now at the knowledge-based innovation-led economy. And we are the world did not stop at Malaysia, because the world has already gone to bio-green economy, and most of the mega countries have also gone to the humanization economy, where wisdom, moral, spiritual now plays a big role, where humanizing education is also now playing a big role, especially in China. The way China has moved technology, but in balance that with values. And the future now also concentrate on outcome or impact to humanity rather than just output. Yeah, output is what KPI is all about, but outcome or impact to humanity, we are talking about KIP, which is inclusive of values, inclusive of intangibles, yeah, trust, trustworthiness, and all that. So this is where the world is going towards values-based. So that's why ACAP, I think, is now teaching leadership for values-based leadership and values-based organization, including values-based universities. So this is where we are, and I hope to share with you the future landscape of RDCIE is also now human-centric and rather than technology-centric. And the stages of economy in Asia, we have gone from resource-driven, rubber, palm oil, to investment-driven with the multinationals. But now we are going to the innovation-driven economy, or what we call knowledge-based economy. And first of all, before we talk about commercialization or R&D, maybe you should now stop for a while and say, what exactly is innovation all about? We'll talk about innovation-led economy or knowledge-based economy or new economy, sama je. Tapi bottom line is, what is that innovation is all about? It's about our industries and enterprises using what? Using homegrown invention, discoveries, or indigenous technology. But because Malaysia, we do not have enough, or the East Asia, which includes our neighbors, do not have enough of indigenous technology that our companies are running on indigenous technology, not like Korea, not like Japan, not like US, not like China. Because we don't have that, World Bank also now include the ability to adopt and adapt foreign technologies as part of innovation as well. In their manufacturing systems, in order to introduce new products, new practices, services that lead the firm to novel ways of producing or acting, because we don't have that. But the ultimate of a high-tech nation like China, like Korea, Japan, or even US is to be, especially China now, they are producing, like Huawei and all that. That basically is the ultimate aim of every country, to have your own industry that is running on your own indigenous technology. And in short, to be a high-tech nation, Malaysia also aims to be a high-tech nation by 2030. We need, as you can see, what COVID has done, companies that do not change, that do not use disruptive technology will die. And COVID has shown that. And basically now we need to create an STI-based industry, because these are the industries that are now surviving and will continue to survive post-COVID-19. And when we start to become using our own indigenous technology, then we can be the producer of technology rather than the consumer of technology to actually compete in the knowledge-based economy. And in the innovation-driven economy, knowledge and innovation basically are the driving force for business and for economic development. And all that is about survival, and it's about sustainability. So for survival of our industry, we need to continuously have new products or value add the existing product. But for sustainability, we need to have new technologies, enablers that resulted in industries driven by indigenous technology. That's what we are aiming for, and that's what I'm trying to convince you to go on this particular path to be able to produce indigenous technology for the country. And for a country to survive in the innovation-led economy, it is therefore imperative that the R&I and commercialization of R&I are the national agenda of the country. For that, you don't have to worry. Yesterday, I was with the meeting with the minister, the new minister of MOSTI, and looks like this is the national agenda, do or die. We are going to be able to move R&I in the country, especially with the movement of STI to create and sustain our industries in the country. So we need to therefore undergo, this is where we are, translational research. All right, to me, I do not understand why in the sciences we divide ourselves to, I'm doing basic fundamental so that I don't do apply. Hey, hello, this is knowledge. Knowledge is in a continuum. There is apply, there is basic. Of course, after basic, we have to go to apply and from there translational to create impact, because that is what people have said many times. Yeah, knowledge that is that cannot benefit society is not good knowledge. So and that is what in the humanization age is about impact or outcome rather than just output. And that's why in Islam it says, you know, because I'm now at UIA, so kena usrah sikit na Prof Nazid. Basically, that is why in Islam it says, you know, after you die, there's only three things: sedekah, doa daripada anak yang soleh, and the third thing is knowledge that can benefit the ummah, right? So basically, that is not asking for how many age index you have or how citation you have, but it's actually saying, did you now translate that knowledge into useful knowledge that benefits society? Not many people can have that opportunity, but a lecturer has that opportunity. Yeah, not many people can do. They can have sedekah. They can do. They can have anak yang soleh that will doa for them. But not everyone can generate knowledge and then translate that knowledge into useful innovation or services that can now help the ummah. So that is the beauty of becoming an academic staff. So if you look at reality, where is Malaysia? If you look at Malaysia's transformation plan, daripada RM pertama sekali 1957 to 1990 and all the way. So we have gone through, Malaysia himself, as I've shown in the world agenda, has gone through the agriculture base, the manufacturing base, the innovation base, and the humanization economy. So and in all of our master plan to ensure that Malaysia remains competitive globally, it is mainly powered by STI. The government continues its efforts basically to mainstream STI as the driver of the economic growth in its transformation plan. And this will enable Malaysia basically to become a high-tech nation and a developed country based on knowledge as well as competitiveness. And you can see that where Malaysia is at the moment, we are right in the middle between moving innovation-led economy and going now to the humanization age. So in RMK12, inshallah, onwards, you will start to see us shifting more and more towards humanization economy. And that's why I now bring about the concept of human-centric kind of innovation rather than being technology-centric. So with the rapid change of technology brought about by Industry 4.0, remember in July 1 of 2021, basically the government has launched the IR 4.0 policy. And that means now Malaysia is, whether you like it or not, we are all embarking on the disruptive technology. And therefore, if most of you have not yet gone into data or big analytics or artificial intelligence or any of the disruptive technologies that I will be describing under 1010 My STIE, I think it's high time that you do some upskilling and reskilling of yourself, because this is now a necessity to now as we move forward, and use this COVID time where you are working from home to actually now be able to make yourself better in terms of upskilling and reskilling, right? So with this rapid change brought by technology, by Industry 4.0, we need to now instill innovation in our industries in order to move productivity. But if you are serious about moving a successful innovation-driven economy, basically you need to see a smooth flow from R to D to C to E, the setting up of the enterprises. So you need to see a smooth flow. It's not like you do fundamental, then you stop there, and you publish, and then you stop there. But you need to now move forward with technology development and then combine the fundamental and the technology to create innovation. And that innovation now can be used either for wealth creation or to help society. So I'll be teaching about both. One is to move the industry and the other one is to move society. So we have business enterprise and social enterprise. So that, you know, there are 18,000 pensyarah of UiTM. Basically, not everyone is industry savvy, obviously. So, you know, Professor Nazib, is very important that you put round pegs in round holes, right? There are some who are more comfortable in doing social enterprise. So this is now how we train them to be able to do both, because that's what a university is all about anyway, to be able to help the rakyat. So basically we need to see this smooth flow, but in reality, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have. In reality, we have very big R, all right, and then small d, and then small c, and as far as we are concerned, I don't care what you say about, oh, how many commercialization, how many spin-off, but at the end of the day, if you look at the nation, we are nowhere, all right? So tak payah agah lah pasal benda tu, right? So there's still a lot of work that need to be done. We targeted 10% in RMK 9 to get commercialization of R&D, but only 5% is now produced by the universities. This is all 20 university plus IPTA, IPTS. We can only produce 5% R&D. I mean, kalau you tanya ROI, to me, the amount of money that has been given by the government in terms of research grants that we have, tak berbaloi. I don't see the ROI being there. So there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. So the question then is that despite all this money that was given to us since ERPA, you remember during ERPA days from 1986 onwards, we had ERPA. And then until now, we continuously have grants, and never was a year that we don't have any money being allocated for R&D. I don't remember any RMK that did not allocate any money for R&D for the universities. And despite all that, why do the nation still believe in us, the academic, and yet we can only deliver 5%, right? So basically, the question that we need to ask ourselves, right? Why are we not there yet? The question then, this is about, you know, being a human being. Always we blame on the external. We never ask the internal. What is wrong with the internal? All right. Sama juga macam COVID. We always blame the environment, but we don't ask ourselves, are we the one who created the zoonotic? How we did not take care of our environment, and as a result we became closer to the animals, and that's the kind of spread that we have with zoonotic diseases, and henceforth having COVID. So we need to now, ladies and gentlemen, not only examine the external causes, but we also need to look at the internal causes, the human being itself. This is what I mean by human-centric research, so that we now look at ourselves and do research for the benefit of the of humankind. Yeah. So in forging, as I said, what are the issues? This is the ASM, basically Academy Sciences. We did a technical group report on RDC for EPU, and these are some of our findings that I'd like to share with you. Again, we say that there is a need to forge the innovation-led economy in the nation. To do that, there is a need for a seamless flow. There's a need for a seamless flow, as I've shown. And the critical requirement for Malaysia's competitive edge is, of course, to generate our own indigenous technology platform and scientific discovery to enhance the wealth creation and improve societal well-being. But to achieve this, we need to have a balanced strength, ladies and gentlemen, a balanced strength in basic, in applied, and also in the translational among our researchers. And only when we have that can we drive the translational research to be creating impact. Otherwise, impact is another word that we say, but we actually cannot deliver. So, but instead of creating impact or outcome, our end game, looking at the KPI that the university set for the pensyarah is actually for papers, for citations. Remember that? For postgraduate, how many postgraduate you train, how many masters, how many PhD, how many patents did you get, how many books did you manage to write, and how many patents do you get commercialized, but not actually looking at the outcome. So kenaikan pangkat, which is basically something that the university does. So the university can now put a difference in emphasis, but selagi university continue with academic impact and only, then we are not going to see the kind of impact that is now needed to turn around a society or to create a sustainable change in society. Yeah. So for a long time, when concentrating on RDCE, we basically ask only for ROI, but we don't ask for ROV. Maybe it's high time. ROV is return on value. This is maybe high time that we now see, because, you know, to make people smile, to make all the makcik kia to say, yeah, despite the COVID, the university is there to help me, to turn around my life, to create for me a sustainable change so that I can now make a living. So all that needs to be there. That is ROV, and that is nowhere asked in any of our KPI. They keep asking only for papers and stuff. So we are actually too much concentrating on academic impact, that now when we want to make about human-centric or creating impact, that becomes a big challenge. But to me, it's not a challenge for as long as there's a political will, ataupun there is a will at the university top management itself. This is some, you know, I know most universities, we are IBTA, we have gated autonomy, but bottom line, within the autonomy that is already given to us, why are we not doing something about it? So this is my question to the university leaders. So public sector R&D basically has registered also little contribution to the private, the public sector, which is us, the universities. Yeah? We contribute very little to the private sector and the community. And the public RDC activities have also not promoted a strong public-private sector linkage. The innovation chasm between academia and industry is very deep. So basically, the bridge is like, you know, not yet, it's broken bridge. So we need to now be able to bring the two together, academia and industry. And, you know, it's surprising that if RDC funds are all from public, because Parliament is the one that gave us the money. So one would expect that the researchers to be accountable for the funds spent. However, the current funding mechanism also from the JKPDA or whatever has also not placed very much emphasis on impact. And EPU pun tak minta. And so daripada segi the kind of KPI that is now going down to the Vice Chancellors, they are also not having this KPI of creating impact, but rather more KPI of moving in the ranks. So the private sector also does not search for locally developed product because of this innovation chasm. They have the lack of confidence in our ability to deliver the kind of technology that they need in order to move. There is a difference, ladies and gentlemen, between SME punya needs dengan MNC punya needs, yeah, and even LLC. So I think Bitcom should now realize who to channel to what, yeah, among the pensyarah. So Malaysia also lacks the whole gamut of expertise required for commercialization process, working together in a consolidated institutional framework. And this includes market intelligence analysis, technology brokers, technopreneurs, intellectual property experts, marketing and branding experts. And most of these people are not there in our TTO or our innovation office, because most of us running the innovation office are also academics, right? So we need a lot more industry-based people to actually move this aspect as well. So in reality, as I said, you can tell me how many patents you have or whatever. I mean, whatever it is, the RU's part of their KPI is obviously to produce the kind of patents. But if you look at this is the World Bank report, December 2020. I mean, they did the analysis up to December 2020. That's the latest that you have. And they did this over all of the East Asian countries, right? Includes China, Philippines, Cambodia, Mongolia, Vietnam, whatever you see here in these countries. And And if you look at the orange, this is maknanya innovation in the process. Bukan menghasilkan new product, but dalam proses melakukan produk tersebut, they instill some innovation steps. But endgame is still not a new novel product, right? So Malaysia is pretty good in doing this. Malaysia is pretty good in they innovate the process, tapi endgame dia masih lagi produk yang menggunakan foreign technology. And if you look at the percentage of product that is with indigenous technology, obviously you know, this is the sad part that you see. Kita kalah even to Myanmar, to Laos, to Indonesia. We are the lowest. So dari segi companies kita menggunakan indigenous technology discovered by our own researchers, this is a sad, pathetic state that you see here in reality. And of course, when that happens, you look at the yellow. The yellow is about whether our industry is giving money to do R&D is also not there. But if you look at the grey bar is about Malaysia sekarang ni adopting and adapting foreign technology. Looks like kita hebat. So basically, as I said, the innovation chasm is very real. Malaysian firms are high in introducing the process innovation, but they have low indigenous technology, low R&D expenditure obviously, but a high dependency on adopting and adapting outside technologies rather than using our own technology developed by our own researchers in the local universities. Of course, the big question is why? Yeah. Why? Because of this, as I said, the innovation chasm. This innovation chasm is nothing new. It's been there, but we talk about it. You know, any innovation office worth their money will probably be talking about it. But what are we doing about it? All right, it's continue to be there. So it's like we live in our own cocoon, and actually, we don't really make that kind of an effort. Massive effort, not small company effort, but massive effort. And the innovation chasm resulted in economic disparities for the country. And basically, World Bank has stated that kebanyakan of the intellectual property, the patents, are actually locked in the public universities, especially with the RUs, right? Public universities, and they are not transferred to the private sector. This is the World Bank analysis of the R&D ecosystem in our country, and this chasm exists, and this is between the knowledge generator, which is us, and the users of the knowledge, which is the industry and the rakyat. And this is because of this chasm is because of the lack of trust between academia and industry, and the lack of trust also between academia and the civil society, because as far as they are concerned, they have not seen any ROI coming from us. So you need to have more engagement between academia and industry, and we need to do this in a collaborative manner. So the new buzzword, Professor Nazib, is collaborative ecosystem, or collaborative research, or integrated research, having a collaborative ecosystem to now move forward, right? And the need now for policy from higher education also. Selagi policy itu tak turun, it is as if the vice chancellors also do not act upon making this change. But basically, this should not be tak payah tunggu Wahyu sebenarnya. It is a must. It is a must for us to show this ROI. So bottom line is that this is something that university can do. It's there in the blueprint for you to be able to move academia industry linkage, right? That essentially the need for policy was the analysis done by World Bank. So if you have the time, either BCom or those in Pejabat Timbalan Naib Chancellor or those involved should read the World Bank report 2020, and then you can see what the analysis of the RDC ecosystem in Malaysia is about. So there is a need, therefore, to create an ecosystem that will now narrow the translation gap time from R&D to economy. That means from the laboratory to the market, to narrow that gap. And in short, we therefore need a policy that link R&D priorities to economy. So that is one, we need that policy. Keep that in mind, because now I want to tell you why you're not getting a lot of this being translated. Why are we getting only 5%? One of the things, because if you look at the nation as a whole, the amount of money that is now allocated for experimental development, that means from prototype to go to commercialization is also very small. If you look at Malaysia, look at the red bar is where our fundamental is. The blue bar is about applied, and the green bar is about experimental. The one that changed from prototype all the way to commercialization. So, and basically, if you compare Malaysia to even Thailand, our next neighbor, Thailand pun put 51% of the R&D allocation into experimental development. So we hope that if you can compare with the rest, you can see that the green in any country that consider itself to be innovation-led economy, the green bar has got to be higher compared to the applied or the red bar. So basically, we need to now, as I said, to move forward, we need to have a balanced strength in fundamental and applied to move translational. So that's what we need, and therefore we hope that we have presented this landscape, and at Academy we presented this landscape to MOSTI and brought this also to EPU to now basically consider in RACM 12 to actually bring back the balance to move 50% at least in experimental development. As soon as I say this, there'll be some pensyarah out there who say, oh my God, habislah duit kami untuk fundamental, you know fundamental is important. Siapa kata fundamental tak penting? Hello, what we are saying is that to balance. So you still get the money for fundamental, you still get the money for applied, but now there is a shift in the allocation supaya sekarang ni we have at least 50%, but not tomorrow. It's about movement. RMK 12 kan 5 tahun, so it's about the movement towards having 50%. So there will be increment lah, at least from 14.6%. That's still a small miserable number. That's why indigenous technology tak boleh take off. Another reason why commercialization tak berlaku dengan hebatnya is because you know, look at where the pensyarah are located. If you look at, tak usah compare lah dengan Cambodia, tapi if you look at Vietnam, Singapore apa semua, why dia orang punya commercialization is smooth, RDCIE, is because they have now the pensyarah di universiti menghasilkan fundamental. From that discovery, they pass it on to the industry, and the industry ada dia punya researchers that will now take it up and turn it around to now move as far as industry development for the country to get the GDP and all that. So, but in Malaysia, we have a whopping 71%, or now it is 71% in actually in the in the university, the red bar, and very small actually in the business enterprise, and of course, let's not talk about the non-profit or the government area. Kebanyakan pensyarah ataupun the brains in the country are locked in the universities, right? And therefore limiting our innovation capability of the industry. So we need to now turn this picture also to have more pensyarah now, not pensyarah sajalah, PhD now going to the industry. And of course, you may also say 98.5% SME apa benda nak terima PhD. So this is why like I said, it's not about turning one company, it's about turning the ecosystem in the country needs to now have a turnaround. Barulah sekarang you will begin to see a change in what is happening. So basically, because kebanyakan kita adalah located in the university, kebanyakan Malaysian R&D is neither therefore industry nor impact driven. So if we are not driving industry pada kurang-kurangnya lah, let's have creating impact for society, itu pun kurang juga. So therefore that is why, ladies and gentlemen, as I said many times, it's not about one-to-one relationship between you and the company, but essentially to create the entire ecosystem for our innovation led economy to happen. And if we can do that, then and only we can realize our high-tech nation punya agenda. But if you look at the universities, don't say to me that university is not to be blamed. We blame the external. And hello, what did I say? You also have to look at the internal. Look at us. What is our problem also? So if you look at the role of academics and researchers, we are supposed to go from research to commercialization to creating impact, and that impact can be either societal well-being, which is KIP for for the rakyat, the community, or wealth creation to go to the industry. That's what we're supposed to be doing. This is the role of the academic as a generator of the knowledge and then dissemination knowledge via publication, via the graduate students that we passed our skill to, and then of course translation of the knowledge to the industry or to the community. But if you look at what we have to do, semua pensyarah muda daripada muda or coming in your career path, you end up having to get grants, you do graduate supervision, you kena publish, kena hasil prototype. Basically you get tired and you stop right there because dengan KPI pun dah mampu kelah as in bahasa Kelantan. So bottom line sekarang ni, you don't realize that there is more journey for you. Essentially, before you finish off as a professor and before you retire, you actually need to move the entire value chain and not stop just because you're tired. Basically, perseverance is necessary because you also need to move one more step. If you're a clinician, to move into clinical trials. If you are in medical, to either field testing, you're engineering, field testing, and you need to have the patents. And then you decide whether you want to now be able to do community engagement so that you can help the community with the innovation that you have created, or you decide that you are more industry savvy kind. You know, like I said, put round pegs in round hole, because it cannot be a one size fit all for everyone, right? Kita semua ada kita punya passion. So that is where it's supposed to be. If you examine yourself, where is your UiTM, for example, kebanyakan your R&D is there at Shah Alam with all the equipment, but you have 34 campuses, right? So all these 34, I'm sure they don't have the kind of facilities that the Shah Alam campus has. So what is now your strength? Your strength will be whatever innovation from, this is my point of view lah, don't get me wrong. My point of view is that the R&D should be done from the Shah Alam, but the innovations from Shah Alam should now go to via the 33 other campuses to now be able to touch base with the community with the innovation. I mean, you are one university that can actually do this, you know, because not everybody has the same kind of facility. So not everybody can do high-tech R&D, but how to bring from high-tech to high-touch, that is the challenge that the pejabat TNC PNI now have. So basically you can have pensyarah that is now moving to the community, or you can have pensyarah that move to the industry. So whatever it is, we are also to be blamed for the lack of innovation that we now see happening in the country, because we also, majority of us, stop at the prototype and that's it, and then we just end up saying high potential for commercialization. Hello, it's still a long journey between high potential for commercialization and reality for commercialization. To me, Bitcom, if that pensyarah has not created the first dollar out of that technology licensing that you have done, then that is not yet called an innovation. It's still an invention sahaja. So these are the challenges that you need to face, right? Because even when you go through the commercialization gate, you also get tired here. So basically you kena banyak vitamin lah, kena makan banyak vitamin if you are a pensyarah. So and while we are grappling with VUCA, volatility and uncertainty and all that created by Industry 4.0, we are landed now with COVID-19, which is an unprecedented global crisis. And what is the effect? The effect is suddenly sekarang ni in a few months, 4,500 SME closed down between April to July. Closed down, and we see now the impact dengan of this. You have industries that is hugely impact, moderately impact, and you see what during COVID, the industry that thrive. This is what you need to now see. What are the industries that are thriving? Why are they thriving? And you find that the industry that rise on disruptive technology, rise on digital technology, are the industries that will now survive. So basically, there is a need, therefore, for you to see that those with artificial intelligence, with algorithms, with blockchain, with IoT, are the kind that is now moving the back end of what this industry is all about. So STI-driven industries will thrive and power the future K-based economy, and therefore change using the disruptive technologies is now inevitable. And post-COVID, what do we see as building a culture of innovation to enhance this resilience? Yeah. So as we are aware, I have said many times, 98% of our industry is SME. But post-COVID, no organization can now maintain a competitive edge if innovation is not embedded in their business strategy, termasuk university juga. So change or you will be obliterated. So innovation is no longer an option, ladies and gentlemen, but it is a necessity. So in the face of this uncertainty, Malaysian companies, what do? They now decide, 77% of the companies now decide that it is a must for them to undergo agile response to change. All right, so with this new confidence, the firms in Malaysia have now been embracing the culture of innovation to ensure business continuity and future relevance. And Budget 21 has also continued to address our nation's long-term aspiration to be competitive, prosperous, and sustainable, as well as inclusive. And you see now digital technology playing a very big role in COVID-19. And of course, COVID in 2 months turned around all of us into becoming universities that go on online learning. Daripada blueprint lagi, when the higher education blueprint keluar in 2015, we already asked trust number 9, lonjakan 9, to undergo global online education because that we are already moving to flexible education. Tak mau dengar. So sekarang ni baru caught with the pants down bila mai COVID. Now baru nak tercapai, baru nak terkapa-kapa macam manalah kita nak dapat internet, macam manalah the schools and universities in Sabah and Sarawak where the internet is bad or whatever, right? So all this should have been settled when in 2015 lagi, we wouldn't face this kind of problem. So the digital technology also has its plus point. This webinar is no longer restricted hanya to UiTM. So whoever now after Facebook, after this, can now be listening as well to this particular webinar. So we can basically reach out, and the conferences that we do now doesn't limit us now. We can have international speakers and whatnot now coming in without having to pay, and they don't fly in. You know, to bring people in, it will take, you will carve out their time, maybe like 3 or 4 days to fly, to come in and all that. But people can afford 45 minutes of their time. Like right now, I can afford an hour or 2 hours of my time to now give to UiTM. So this is the new plus points that we see coming up from the digital ecosystem. So online business now is booming, and logistic companies basically need to catch up with the clicks. So that is what we are seeing now. So this budget 21, 1 billion of it was given now to industrial digitalization transformation scheme that hopefully would turn around our organization, our various companies. Now, because the private sector, listen, the private sector has no umbrella to help them. But the public sector like us, gaji jalan, work from home, gaji jalan. So if we are not careful, we become very complacent. Alright, tak payah masuk lab. Macam mana nak masuk lab? Lab tutup. Oh, another excuse why we are not doing research. And postgraduate pun sama, tak payah mai because ni. So mana dia ada R&D culture? I mean, you go into university, it's quiet. You go to university, it's quiet. What do you mean you go to a university that's quiet, right? I can understand majority don't come in, but I don't understand centers of excellence not having the lights on. Also, some are quiet juga. So this is where I think the culture needs to change. Padahal KPT dah lama kata kalau dalam lab is necessary to do skill based, memang dibenarkan. So what is the problem? So this is where we are using actually this particular aspect. Sebab gaji jalan. If you are like a private sector, like IPTS, where they will shut down if they don't create an agile response to COVID. So this is where we see private sector do that. We see IPTS do that, but we do not see that as a whole, minta maaf, coming from IPTA. So, and you know very well, to be resilient, you got to show agile response. That means bukan tunggu zaman lepas 2-3 tahun dari sekarang, tapi sekarang. So does the research agenda in the public sector show the same agile response? So this is the question that I want to raise. And so therefore, the next thing is, how do academics now create impact via innovation, right? So this is the sector that I want to turn about transforming or translating ideas now into action. So as I said before, to bridge between academia and industry, we need a policy. We need a national policy that will now drive and say, no excuse, you've got to now do this. So for the first time, we now launched the national STI policy by MOSTI, but it is not by MOSTI, it's meant for the whole country. Cabinet dah terima benda ni in December of 2020. This national STI policy for the first time link the word STI with socio-economy. So that's why perkataan saya guna sekarang ni, Professor Nazim, is STIE, Science, Technology, Innovation and Economy. So sekarang semua the R&D money from the country need to now link to economy in order to be able to show impact. And how do we now bring the academia industry together? Kalau saja-saja suruh bergurau senda, insya-Allah tak. So basically now, in order to incentivize and make sure that we are now working to move the nation, we have now the 10-10 Malaysian, My to Malaysia, STIE, Science, Technology, Innovation, Economy framework. So this framework is now cutting across semua ministries in the country sekarang, because it's already been accepted at National Science Council and also by Cabinet in December, launched in December of 2020. And this is the first time that the policy and the framework is now lulus at the same time, December 8, 2020, right? So basically what this is all about is that with this policy, we now for the first time introduce dalam Malaysia, STI must link with economy. That means all the R&D that we do must link with economy, and that this is the way we want to drive now to Malaysia to become a high-tech nation and to move ourselves from being a technology user to a technology producer, and emphasize on impact rather than KPI alone. And to do that, we have to now turn around and create an adaptive STEM talent. Bukan talent biasa, tetapi adaptive STEM talent means to also have industry ready, bukan industry later to be ready, but industry ready talent. And to do that, universities with centers of excellence like Ybhg Prof should now be the one that is the liaison to bring the academia and industry together. So this is 10-10 My STIE, and 10-10 means 10 technology which is future proof, for UiTM people. This is future proof technology. We have done the foresight at the Academy of Science. This is mooted, of course 10-10 is mooted by Academy of Science for the nation, and basically we have done the foresight, and this is technology that will be there up to 2050, and this is world punya, and we did this analysis together with patent analysis, global patent analysis, with our researcher punya ability, and the 10 technologies like 5G, 6G, sensor, 4D, 5D printing, and then advanced materials, advanced artificial intelligence, cyber security, blockchain, and also biotech. So basically, if you now, how to use this framework is that if you are and the other 10 economic drivers like energy and also all that 10 berdasarkan what is the socio-economic impact that will create. I'm not going to deep dive this because it will take some time, so I'm just going to cursory saja. But you can read more about this, or I can give another talk on this. It should be another hour just on 10-10. But basically is how now when we have, let's say, biotech, we can move any sector if we're doing biotech. But basically, if you now move and this is where when we're doing this, is integrating science, technology, humanities to actually show the result. Because if you are now doing a vertical analysis, if you want to move, let's say, the agriculture industry, you know you have to use all the various technologies in order to move that. So that means we are now enhancing integration or convergence of knowledge from the sciences, the humanities, the social science, the religion, all that coming together with the quadruple helix to now design a solution for agriculture. At the same time, in terms of technology drivers, you also need to collaborate. So the key word is not UiTM to bekerja dengan UiTM ataupun UiTM bekerja dengan 3 university like what we do with the LRGS, but actually you have to work with the quadruple helix in order to get these new Malaysia Grand Challenge grants. And these are the areas, the niche areas that we have already discussed with the stakeholders, more than 2,500 stakeholders. That is the quadruple helix that we do, and this is accepted by government as these are the area of trust, niche area that we need to now move. And you can see for each of the socio-economic driver, we have at least 3 area, and this will change every 2 to 3 years, the niche area, in order to make sure Malaysia is competitive. Example, if you are in medical or health sector, I have lined up these are the 10 technologies here. So if you want to move, let's say, medical robots, you need to work with technology 1, which is 5G, 6G, technology 2, which is sensor, technology 5, which is artificial intelligence, and technology 7, augmented analytics, data discovery, for example. So maknanya kita kena collaborate in order to be able to move just medical robots. So and these are some of the examples the academy has now done. Kalau tak payah nak berfikir banyak, you can actually look at this, because this is now, if you're able to do any of this, basically this is to catch up sahaja. But if you really want to leapfrog and bring UiTM to the next level, then these are the kind that we need. And you notice that there will be more, as you now go to leapfrog, you will need more and more of these technologies working together to be one. Yeah, so that's why we say now that a cluster is not 5 people, a cluster may be 40 people or more now in order to move research. And this is, like, for example, in the halal supply chain, this is another example. In fact, when we study this at the academy, we find that the game changer for the country is actually halal ecosystem. If we can move halal, Malaysia would be the best game changer, because halal also satisfy all the SDG. So I can't have time to go through all this, but look into that and do not poo-poo the halal, because the halal ecosystem will be a big game changer for the country. It cuts across all of the technologies, and it cuts across cross-cutting all of the socio-economic drivers. So if you want to do more understanding of this, please download the book. It's available from ASM website. You will not be alone. We already have more than 3,000 downloads with 6,500 readers from 30 countries, and already 4 or 5 countries have already called into academy to actually learn and how to turn around their country using the 10-10. The 10 technologies are the future technologies. You don't change that, but the socio-economic driver will differ for each country. So that is the beauty of this 10-10. And the UK punya agency, UK basically has recognized the 10-10 MySTIE and the national STIE policy as one of the best in the world. And basically we are the only developing country that is recognized by the UK government for doing this kind of work. So and of course, as you are aware, the national policy is also the people behind that is also from Academy of Sciences Malaysia. So how do we perform research towards commercialization? Bringing innovation to market, as I said, can be by business enterprise or by social enterprise. And I think at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, mirror on the wall, what is the purpose of you doing your research, right? And research is basically done to enhance innovation and to provide solutions that threatens humanity. But most of all of us, like kalau kita bangun pagi tu, kita probably doa, let for any one of us, our aim and our ambition basically is to make a difference in the world. And to make a difference is basically to create an impact. And one way to create that impact is to provide solution to SDG. So, and this is high time where we inject now values as we go to humanization edge. So, for a long time, R&I is always about ROI. I think kalau tanya most of the TTO, they were all asking about ROI. Minda kita ni kan, bila orang ajar ROI, you pun belajar ROI. Padahal if you were asking internally, adakah itu ROI? In fact, Klaus Schwab was saying the biggest problem is not about technology, it's about people and values and about the lack of trust. And that lack of trust is the one that is creating our innovation chasm. So actually, you must see that it is the intangible that is playing a very big role. As far as COVID is concerned, you will see how we even change the way we do research. We are no longer publishing in peer-reviewed journal. We are putting the information direct into the repository so that people now can solve problem using the current information. So there's shared responsibility, there's shared values. So the human spirit ni, don't underrate the human spirit. Yeah? So basically the aim for research solution should now be human-centric instead of technology-centric. And COVID-19 has taught us that we need to place the emphasis on people and values. And it's time that we move from just output to now outcome. And therefore, we need to do that. We need to collaborate and work together in a multidisciplinary. Antara kita academia, we need to now bring the multidisciplinary work with the integration of science, technology, arts, humanities. Itu untuk kita nak sit down. But when we sit down, it's also engaging now with the quadruple helix. so that we can provide the wealth creation for humanity. So innovations for wealth creation obviously will provide the competitive edge to our business enterprise, which we need. They need homegrown technology, and most of the patent is now locked in. Of course, I can ask you how many patents you have, and you can rah and tell me, oh, how many patents you have, dida. But at the end of the day, how many patents are off the shelf? That is now more important for you to now see in terms of impact. So this in turn will help the community and nation by creating jobs and new opportunities for business, right? To be there. But you also can bring ni saya kata, kalau lab tak cukup, equipment tak ada, grant pun very small, so why can't you now turn around and say let's do a direct benefit to the community, especially the poor and the marginalized, using the innovations that you have. Like I said, mungkin innovation to that you have created, mungkin as I said, from the Shah Alam campus, and basically use that kind of innovation and together with some adoption and adaptation with the one from the Shah Alam, maybe you can now get into community engagement. After all, UiTM, University Destinasiku, okay, Destinasiku for what? So that you now train the people there to go back to the community and make a difference. I thought that is why we have UiTM. So, you know, and of course, being officers or whatnot, that we work together with YIM or social enterprise. So there are a lot of things that can be done as long as we put round pegs in round holes. And therefore, I ask higher education with the hub, with the difference in Malaysia, kalaulah sangat kita nak move ranking, why not we move ranking that is values-based? And if not relevant to society, also move values-based. If you move ranking, of course, you have to provide solutions for the urban and future environment that will be published in the high impact journals, and it will require a high budget investment. But if you do something that's relevant to society, you don't need the kind of high budget investment. You don't need solutions but the solution that you provide is much more relevant. And this is where you become the number one in the hearts and mind of the people. So obviously you have to sit down and ask the question, what is UiTM, for example. So basically, my aim is that of course, at the end of the day, we've got to be respected, we've got to be referred, and we've got to be relevant as a university. But why can't we move hybrid? That is high tech as well as high touch, so that whatever we do is values-driven learning and values-driven research excellence. So at the end of the day, you have to ask the question, do you want just impact or impact factor? But to me, I preferably would want both. Yeah. Go for the hybrid. So in performing research for commercialization, if you're serious about it, okay, you need to plan your experimental design from the beginning. Masalah all of you is that we all have been trained in the universities before, either in the overseas, introduction, materials and method, results, conclusion. Okay, so we go from A to Z, but actually, if you want to do commercialization of R&D, it's actually Z to A. You got to work with the end in mind first. What is this thing at the end of the day? What is it for? And then from then only work backwards. I will teach you about that. So the research approach is from Z to A rather than going from A to Z, which is normally done. And when you work from Z to A, you have to determine what is the final milestone of that research and what do you want to make at the end of the day. Are you want to making a drug? Are you into a vaccine, or are you into a diagnostic kit? What do you want to make? So what you want to make at the end of the day will be determined by when you want to see this happening. Okay, is it going to happen during your lifetime, or is it going to happen after your lifetime? Okay, hello, let's think again. If you are a student of Einstein, you can imagine that after your lifetime, your student will carry on your work. If you're a student of Asma Ismail, I'm not sure that you will actually carry on during after my lifetime. So basically, let's talk real, let's talk practical reality about what you're doing in terms of research. And usually it better be, I'm a practical person, you know, you train whatever graduate students you want, but at the end of the day, that graduate student, bila dia dapat job, dia akan buat whatever that needs to be done. And therefore, they takkan continue. But what they learn from you is the one that will continue. alright? The attributes, the concept of doing proper research with controls, etc. The attitudes and all that, they will learn from you. Okay, itu yang akan dibawa ke masa hadapan. So this will then determine, if you now understand and you mirror on the wall, what exactly do you want to do within your lifetime, after your lifetime, then this will determine what is the research problem that you want to solve, alright? So basically, if you want to do any journey lah for whatever you want to do, check out first what is relevant. Itu yang saya kata tadi, don't simply balik daripada mana-mana, daripada UK ke, US ke, Germany ke, Jepun ke, and you follow whatever yang kat sana. Hello, think again. You come back to Malaysia, you want to solve Malaysia's problem, alright? And therefore, it must be whatever problem that is seen as a priority in the country. Barulah apa yang you hasilkan, because what you're going to hasil is going to take 3 to 5 years or even longer. But if you're working on something of lack of priority to the country, then it's difficult to say, to acknowledge whatever that you have done. So basically, that will determine for you to choose the correct research topic. This is where you work with the mentors in your university, you work with the senior professors, and you kalau tak ada senior professor that can help you in your university, that is the beauty of webinars. Now you're listening from different professors around Malaysia to provide the ideas, right? So then you deep dive on the topic, and then you write the grant and you undergo the research. And then if you, because I say it's a continuum, you seek for IP protection, and then you look for investors in know-how and licensing, and then you go through this commercialization gate. When you go through the commercialization gate, remember it's always 2 paths that you can do, or both. In my case, I do both. I go for the industry and I go for the community. So boleh belaka for whatever you do. But whatever it is, you need to be guided. If you are not guided and you are just left alone, and then this is no longer by design, ladies and gentlemen, you are left to chance. Kalau you make it, it's like ikan bertelur. If you make it, you make it. If you don't make it, you don't make it. Mana boleh macam tu? We are now in a country where we give you funding so that now you are guided, yeah. So that's the thing. And which topic to work on? This is the advice from the Nobel laureate. If we work on research topics, Ahmad Zuel, he is the arwah dah sekarang, Nobel Prize winner and the science consultant for Malaysia during Tun Mahathir. So if we work on research topics that the West is not interested in, we will always be 20 years ahead. But if you work on topics that the West is interested in, you will be 20 years behind. I hope you get that. Because that essentially is blue ocean strategy, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Tapi kita ni, kalau cancer, kita pun nak work on cancer juga. Look at our lab and look at Rockefeller punya lab. Look at the other people punya lab. Will their lab is better than you? Of course. Will they get reagent faster than you? Of course. Will they get equipment better than you? Of course. So if you now work on something that is called to boldly go where no one has gone before, which is actually blue ocean strategy, for me, when I led the Institute Inform, was to focus on problems of Southeast Asia, where there is no competitor from the West, because people are not interested to provide solution to the people of the poor. So how can we now ensure that we are in the lead and ahead of our competitor? How do we make our competitors irrelevant? How can we create an impact to nation and society? Basically, I look for providing solution to the people of the poor and the marginalized, because there is no competitor. No big company want to now invest to help the poor, because the poor cannot produce apa? ROI. They cannot charge a lot. So how can they get back the returns of investment? So it's better to cater for the rich. But there's only, in this world of berapa billion, there's only 2 million are rich, but the rest 5.6 are actually poor. So if you do for poverty, there's a lot of business or sales volume. So that's why I decided to work on typhoid diagnostics. And for what? For people of the poor, for low resource setting. But it so happened that USM, when I was there, is an apex university that caters for the people of the bottom million. Now tak payah USM, the whole of the blueprint dah memang minta untuk universiti create impact kepada rakyat, ya. And now I want to share, because dia kena share dengan example, otherwise you tak faham apa yang cakap nanti, and again it will just be another theoretical commercialization punya talk. So I want to share with you the Typhi.dot experience. Of course, this is a diagnostic kit that was developed. This is an example of a human-centric research innovation. At the time when I was doing this, of course, I don't understand any of this. Nobody has talked to me about this. I'm left on my own as well to sendiri find out the sendiri punya cara lah. But you know, alhamdulillah lah, that's why whatever I have now is shared with you. When I first came back from United States, you know, I had biotech, medical biotech background, and basically I can do outer membrane, I can create biomarkers. I mean, that will be my forte. But in 1986, when I returned, there was a large number of typhoid cases in Kelantan, because medical school was based in Kelantan. I was attached to USM Medical School, and I decided to work on typhoid fever. See, I was never trained on typhoid or anything like that, but when I come back, I look at what's relevant, and I was asked to now work on typhoid, because that is the Kelantan at that time is the #1. It's always fighting between Kelantan, Kedah, Sabah, Sarawak, who would be #1 for typhoid for the year, you know, so there's always that competition. So, but when you look at typhoid, the topic is too big. Sama juga, I'm teaching you so that you can now put this in your mind regarding your work. So typhoid is too big. What do you mean that? Yeah, it's too big because in what area of typhoid do I now want to use? I have medical biotech background, but what area do I want to go in? And this is where I ask the question. I want to go in this and create an impact during my lifetime or after my lifetime. So that's why I choose the area, because choosing the area well, ladies and gentlemen, for all the early academics, this is going to break or bust your career, your academic career. So you need to plan the career. So that's what I did. I basically, in retrospect, said that I basically designed my career. I design it. Is there by design. My career is by design, not by chance. So you look at typhoid. It's a big problem. Which area? You want to go mechanism, that means pathogenesis. You want to go management, that means you nak buat drug, or you want to create vaccine. And then masa tu lah, zaman jahiliah 1986, mana ada vaccine facility. Sekarang baru under MPSTI, barulah MGI sekarang ni was set up the vaccine center. So how long? Kalau tidak, saya dah pencen dah. Baru vaccine nak move, baru nak move. Okay, to have the facility. So, and then I say what will deliver for me during my lifetime that has a very fast turnover rate that I can deliver and using my expertise. So that's why I move into diagnostics, but diagnostic not for the rich, diagnostic for the poor. So I use the advice from Ahmad Zuel, and at that time even Blue Ocean buku pun belum ditulis lagi, but that's what I had in mind to move about the diseases of the poor and work on diagnostics but for low resource settings. And then you have to know what the investors are looking for. You must show that is there a need for that product, and can the need be created? If there's no need, can the need be created, and can it have a worldwide impact? There's no use to create a solution for a disease yang 500 orang saja dalam Malaysia would have, and then nobody else around the world will have. That is a rare. Look, hello, work on something that is creating a 41 million macam sekarang 41 million per year dapat typhoid. So you work on that, and then your site can be the one to help 500 people. You faham tak? Get the money first for the 41 million, and then along the way you can create with the equipment and the reagents, create something for the 500. So you need a new innovative or modified method. Now, if you focus on impact-driven product, you akan hasilkan originality and you akan hasilkan benda yang technologically competitive. So at the end of the day, you need to do fundamental, you need to combine that with the technology platform, and then to create now the innovation that you need to create. So of course, you got to look at sales volume to if you are interested betul-betul dalam commercialization of R&D. So you got to work on product. Macam typhoid, there are the 41 million cases annually, and it fulfills and whatever you want to do need to fulfill all the product criteria that an investor would want to have. It has to have high sales volume, it has to have marketability, because it's difficult to compete with similar type products produced by well-established companies, and it's easier to market an original product for any investor. It's better to do that, and you can also create a niche for the product in strategic areas, and you want to make sure that the product has a competitive price. So therefore, you have to also put the cost of developing that product to be low, and that's where you need the R&I. The R&I is needed to ensure that that particular technology platform will produce a lower cost of production. And this is where jangan bawa balik apa benda yang you belajar daripada whatever. If you belajar PCR, you balik pun you nak buat PCR juga. You belajar throughput, you pun balik nak buat throughput juga. Hello, at the end of the day, you want to commercialize or you want to do R&D? If you want to do R&D, of course, I expect you to do high tech. But when you want to commercialize, it has to be high touch. It has to create the kind of impact. It has to go out to the targeted clients. So if the client is poor and you're producing throughput punya diagnostic, that's not going to help. That's going to help people of the rich. Right, so this is where sekarang ni Minda kena tukar seriously and have a discussion regarding what exactly this is all about. And that's why bila kita ada TTO office or dia tunggu produk saja, dia tunggu kita nak main. Siapa yang nak ajak kita tu jadi apa yang kita patut buat? This is the process itself. Needs now the young researcher, even the middle researcher need to learn about the process of developing a product that is ready for commercialization. If dia tak belajar this process, then at the end of the day, duk tunggu output saja, then you may not be able to get kind of output. So once you work from Z to A, alright, once kita dah decide, okay, and I want to work on diagnostic, okay, and I want to work on diagnostic for the poor, and I want to work it on typhoid, the disease. And I want to turn around that to be human-centric, that catered for the need of the clients in low resource settings. You panggil developed, underdeveloped country ni kadang-kadang sensitif pada orang. So sekarang ni that's why saya kata high resource or low resource. Low resource maknanya electricity tak ada, water kurang, and all that. So how do we now cater for the people of that poor? So when you do that, of course, the people, if you cater for the people of the poor, they do deserve a better health. Betul tak? SDG, quality of health is very important. So basically, the test, walaupun murah, must be sensitive, must be specific, must be rapid, must have built-in control, must be simple to perform, and it must be economical, obviously, and must be transported and stored without cold chain. We are talking about going to the marginalized country, mana nak ada cold chain facility. So when you start thinking about that, all right, you will inevitably create an original product. Because the current product is by PCR. PCR uses a machine and you have to have electrical socket. If you go to a country that don't have electricity, the area that don't have electricity, that is the area yang paling high dalam typhoid. So that is why when you start to address all this, all right, for the people of the human-centric, you will now turn around your research to now create something. So that's why when I talk to my graduate student, dia kata, orang tak buat yang ni, dalam bahasa Kelantan, orang tak buat yang ni, kata kalau orang tak buat, hak ni yang kita nak buat. So basically, if that was not done, then we do it, because that's blue ocean, to boldly go where no one has gone before. And writing the grant. So then the next one, what is the current this one topic ni, you take it down, because you can use this for product defense to get gold medal, or you can do this for business plan, or you can do whatever I'm saying now to write a grant. First, what is the current scenario of the topic that you have in mind? What is wrong with that current scenario? That what is wrong is actually your problem statement. And what is your solution? Okay, my solution is diagnostic. Then you explain your solution. What is the principles? What is description? What is the feature, right? And how do you plan to get the solution? Then what is the process that you want to do to get that solution? Is there a competitor? This is very important, because that will decide whether your solution that you offer is going to be novel or it's not going to be novel. And then why is the solution better than the others around? This is where the technology comes in to now say why it is better, for what purpose is it better, right? So the same thinking, as I said, can go for business plan or policy papers or books or even monograph. This is the thinking. This one you tak ada jumpa dalam buku mana-mana. This is Asma Ismail. So bottom line sekarang ni, I say if you want to go from Z to A, this is the thinking, my dears. This is the thinking. But when you write for the grant, you go from A to Z, okay? So the thinking is that what kind of product first, right? What kind of product? The product chosen must have impact, volume, marketability, can be used in low resource settings, because that is the kind of people working with the end in mind that I want. I want to help the people of the poor. And for what? For typhoid, because wow, this disease, dia tak kenal orang, tapi as long as sanitary condition is poor, usually with the poverty countries or low resource countries, this is where the disease is most. The disease with local and global impact, not just for Malaysia, but also Southeast Asia and the rest of the world. So step 3, what kind of criteria then? If you want to cater for the people of the poor or low resource setting, then what kind of criteria? I said the criteria. And what technology do you choose now to do that? Is it going to be PCR? Well, I can't use PCR because I need the cold chain. I can't afford the cold chain. I can't afford electricity. So what can I do? I can do now by immunochromatography. All right. So that's why you turn around based on the thinking that you want to do. And how you going to arrive to make this sensitive and specific? Obviously, I need a specific antigen. Well, how now do you find this specific antigen? This is where I start to go to the fundamental, which is the outer membrane of the bacteria. And how do you find the specific antigen? How the process, etc. I now need to perform fundamental research. Nampak tak? So I already know what I need to do. So when you now do the writing, obviously you find the specific, you have to do the specific objective to find apa dia, that is the fundamental. Kemudian to develop apa using the method of what and with the criteria of what. So that will be objective number 2. And specific objective 3 will be now to evaluate, because you never stop when you write a grant about to develop. You must always end by to evaluate whatever you develop. So once you do that, that is a possible research grant already. Okay, so the scientific discovery that based on the thinking of Z to A, I created the fundamental and come up with the 50 kilodalton that is now patented. And we use this protein. I did not stop there. We use this protein to develop what we call typhi dot, Salmonella typhi that is dotted. So basically typhi dot that produce the results masa 2 in 1 hour, but now it's 15 minutes, right? But this is better than the 2 to 5 days that is now available using the welcome and using biculture method. So once you develop the product, what's next? Once you develop the product, you apply for the patent. You have Malaysian patent and international patent, and this must be smooth in your university. And basically, you know, for me, it's very important. When I file in a lot of countries, and it takes trust from the TNC PNI to say this phase will deliver or not, and then do they believe, the university believe or not in my science to do this. You know, you can win a lot of the product punya exhibition, gold medal gila-gila, and then of course gold medal saja tak cukup, you got to have it if you publish, you got to have patent. So this is the time where university, you tak boleh patent, tapi university kena trust that you are the scientist that will deliver. So this is where you pitch to the university, also very important. And of course you got to have patience with the Malaysian IP lawyers, because most of us are not in the sciences, and therefore they cannot file your claims very well. As you are aware, I now attain 16 patent, but it takes a long time to get 16 patent, because it takes like 5 years for Malaysian patent to be approved. So you need to have, however, the opinion and whatnot of the business people. And this is where, you know, you go into all this due diligence, market diligence, all this is done to make sure that the product is okay. And also you need opinion and a plus or thumbs up from your scientific community and your peers. And of course, that's how I end up with all these awards, etc. And as you go through the commercialization gate, basically you must be able to convince the investor. And this is where I had to do, my investor was MTDC, Malaysian Technology Development Corporation, and they were looking for basically I was one of the first that commercialization from a university. And of course you have to do this 1-minute elevator pitch. That is very important, but they are not looking just at what I say, they're looking at my face, my body expression, my eyes. Can I actually deliver? If I falter, then that means I don't have the kind of confidence. So there's a lot of body language even in the elevator pitch. So, and having a godfather and a godmother to champion you, I think is a bonus that you have in the university. And of course, from the peers, you will face a lot of skepticism. This is the beauty of being an academic, in the academic. Bukan ramai orang support you, ramai orang bila you ada something, ramai orang juga akan kalau boleh bring you down. Saya pun tak faham konsep ni. Actually you have to look at the science. If the science is okay, then you give the thumbs up. But orang ada macam-macam ya punya ni. So I face a lot of criticism from the people, but it didn't get me down. You know, from your own peers, even the medical school where I am from, you know, so Malaysian innovation ni sebenarnya memang akan ada a lot of skepticism and you got to bypass that. But you have to be confident in your science, and once you go through the technology licensing and the spin-off company, then you need to work closely with the company and not just say, okay, now make the money for me. You got to work with the company, all right? And I was, of course, on the front page of New Straits Times in living color. So I couldn't show you because masa tak pakai tudung, so tak apalah. Anyway, when you undergo commercialization, setting up the spin-off company by MTDC in 1994 after 8 years of R&D, this is where I work closely because they have we are the first biodiagnostic industry company in the country, and basically walaupun business people are the CEO, tapi they also need to help ask us to help with the business plan, the brochure, the poster, the design of the kit itself, the specs on the bottles, how will we source out the raw materials, how to package, how to transport. Nampak tak? I turned from scientist to technopreneur overnight. I have to learn the business as well, and this brought out the creativity in me. And turn from scientist to technopreneur, and you also, when you commercialize, this is where I said to become, you have to be patient. The pensyarah terlibat, they cannot see the first dollar immediately. They have to do promotion, they have to do, because Malaysia is not known for the science product. Okay, so and of course my product could not sell well in Malaysia because the number of typhoid cases in Malaysia tak dan 10,000, but the number in Philippines, in Bangladesh, in India, in everywhere else around the world is very high. So that is where now immediately Typhidot went global. Itu hikmahnya. Typhidot went global and was sold in US dollars. So basically I created Forex for the country, and that's why we're winning all these awards. By doing that, and to sustain the product in the marketplace, you must, R&D must continuously be done. So you got to have Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3. When I first started up, Typhidot was 1 hour. Now Typhidot is 15 minutes and using immunochromatography, just like the pregnancy test. So it can now be done anywhere, anytime. So the fundamental research, I think, must be done in order to drive the applied research to newer heights. So if you go from Mark 1 to Mark 2, it's the fundamental that drive the applied. So you cannot say stop doing fundamental, just do applied. Tak boleh. They are all in continuum. And also you need to have new products, because a company if set up cannot be having one flagship. It has to have many flagship. So as a result of that, of Typhidot alone, basically it has gone to publication more than, bukan I publish, orang publish tentang Typhidot, with masa 2013, now is 16 patents, created 500 jobs around the world, supported local industries, because biodiagnostic need packaging, need bottles, so we supported a lot of the local industry, generated income to the country with the Forex and inventors. And of course for me, I've won more than 100 awards already, with more than 14 million grants obtained for doing this. And Typhidot basically was commercialized to at least 18 countries around the world. And this is coming from the boondocks of Kubang Krian, Kelantan. So basically I don't have to be in the Klang Valley in order to make an impact. And of course the people working with me basically not necessarily can speak English very well, but they speak Kelantanese very well. So basically it's not about the where you are. It is about whether the willingness and the ability to want to do it and to make that change in the mindset, to want to do it. So the R&D is basically, as I said, necessary to make the product technology competitive. And when we have Mark 1, Mark 2, and Mark 3, and basically to get acknowledgement from the OIC countries, from the Islamic Development Bank, and basically brought inform that move all the diagnostics there. and we won that for USD 100,000, the first Center of Excellence to win, with acknowledgement that we are helping the Ummah with the diagnostics yang kita buat, ya. So basically, to show the impact, it's not good enough that I've developed. We can do this to help millions around the world. Basically, also to show the impact in Kelantan. So we created, as I said, now how to now monitor. We have carrier detection and whatnot. This is the state, and now when we can do this, we can now control the typhoid cases in Kelantan. So sekarang if you go to Kelantan, Kelantan is no longer in competition to be number one. In fact, there are very few cases in Kelantan now. So you can see the kind of impact that when you now work with the Kelantan state, because you know medical school at that time where I'm now when I'm developing this is from Kubang Krian. So basically we can now help the state of Kelantan as well to show the impact. So you can see the number of cases. Now, I think if you go to Kelantan, typhoid is no longer a problem because we continue to give the service to detect for carriers and be able for public health now to be able to help. So, ladies and gentlemen, I end by saying that actually for every researcher there must be a time that turn around your thinking, and my turnaround was when I visited a bread village in Bangladesh, and this is where Apex State University helping the people of the bottom billion became reality to me. I'm one of those not very into poverty, tak buat sangat community engagement until you know I was like sink or swim inside the bright village, and this is where I realized to stop playing catching up and turn around the way we do research. And there's a lot of research that need to be done to help the people of the bottom billion, and that's why I said address the needs of the bottom billion. UiTM University Destinasiku, there's a lot of people in the jangan pi jauh-jauh outreach. There's so many that is unreachable out there in Malaysia itself, in Sabah, in Sarawak, that definitely need our help in the way we do things. All right, so let's concentrate on research outcome that basically can reduce inequity and enhance sustainability, and hopefully along the way provide local solutions to answer global problems. Because why do I say this? Typhoid is there in Malaysia, but it's there in Southeast Asia. But if you turn the globe, most of the Latin America countries, Mexico, South America and all that, they all face typhoid. So basically the sales volume is not just in Malaysia, the sales volume is around the world. So and when you do that, in my travels to go to Indonesia, to go to Bangladesh, I begin to see the different health punya services in the different countries, and that's how I come up Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4 that improve further Davidot from the learning experience that I get when I start to go to all these places. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, I try to balance impact with impact factor in the kind of things that work. So I'm a practical person. I believe in hybrid approach, right? Because the poor and the marginalized, they need help, and we need to have more action-oriented leaders who are not desk-based and but thinking only from the desk, and basically people who can now go out, be action-oriented, able to provide sustainable solution for humanity or the ummah to use. So with that, I end by saying what you do has greater impact than what you say. So I wish you all the best, and I would like to acknowledge Akademi Sains Malaysia for some of the data that I use in presenting for this talk. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Datuk, for such an inspiring sharing session. So it can be seen that education professionals are always learning, finding out things, analyzing information, adapting their behavior according to information received, looking forward to improve and adapting to modern demands. Research plays an important role in discovering new knowledge and making sure that we use existing findings in the best possible manner. Research can find answers to unknown things, filling gaps in knowledge and changing our way of life for the better. So one thing that I like what you mentioned about just now, Yang Berbahagia Datuk, is about human-centric innovation. Okay, academic impacts alone is not enough to turn around. Okay, there needs to be a human-centric innovation, although it can be a challenge for us to try to put the inputs on that. Okay, and focus on the impact-driven product if the researchers or anyone is interested for commercialization in R&D. Okay, thank you again, Yang Berbahagia Datuk. So, for the next session, we will project the questions given by our researchers. Okay, so the first question from Muhaimin. So Yang Berbahagia Datuk, what is STI-based industries? Maybe in a summary.
Semua industri yang menggunakan sains, teknologi and innovation. Like if you use digital, if you use online, that is already STI based. Of course, there are, like biodiagnostic industry, the biotech industries, the nanotech industry, the medical industry yang kebanyakan yang medical devices and all that, all using science, technology and science and technology. So basically, there's a lot of STI based industries in the country, especially the EE sector, electronic, and all that. So anything that uses science and science too, you can see some of those technologies that I mentioned dalam 1010. If they're using any of those are all STI based industries. Kita ada banyak. Free trade zone is mainly MNCs are mainly also the STI based industries. Yeah.
Okay, so it's science technology. Right. The second question from Encik Muhammad Shah Razif. So, Assalamualaikum, Encik Shah here from FITA, Film, Theatre and Animation Faculty. Does this include software and mobile application development? I have an idea on how to manage a filming production via PC or laptop, especially mobile phones, which will anonymously decrease paperwork in a PC or phone.
So does this include what? So I mean, kalau saya pun tak faham you nak kata apa sebenarnya on this aspect. So whatever that you want to do that is innovative, and like I said, if you can have business development to be done, business marketing analysis to be done, if it's feasible, then that's the way. In fact, the way forward using IT is like, fantastic. I mean,
yes.
we as you know, UiTM kan famous for fashion, for example. So we have virtual dressing kan, betul so if as I said, kalau guna science and technology sekarang, why are we buying so many clothes for? So what's important is what is the best clothes that fit my avatar.
Yeah.
So and then I can see how I look like in those clothing and all with my avatar, what can now be happening. So this now becomes a new trend, menggunakan virtual dressing as the when you start to use the artificial intelligence and the algorithms that is now being created. That is the future, even in fashion and whatnot. So I think, jangan fikir sekarang ni brick and mortar. I think you kena fikir. That's why I say catching up with the clicks now become very important. And that's why kalau kita tak faham lagi, I think this is where you upskill and reskill to now go into this kind, because that's the future. People are looking for sustainability. Consumers are now looking for sustainability. So if you rasa you punya software development, etc. for film is something that the industry would use, then have some marketing. Go to Bitcom and see whether Bitcom can provide the marketing analysis to be done, due diligence lah sebenarnya, to see whether the idea is feasible or not. Okay.
Okay, there is a very interesting answer from you, Yang Berbahagia Datuk, because I myself is from the fashion department, faculty, art and design. So we have this innovation towards 3D body scanning, where we need to collab with faculty science gunaan. So that is a very, very interesting topic on STI in fashion.
I mean, look at Gucci and look at all the top fashions nowadays. They semua dah mula pakai virtual dressing. So, and I think because of sustainability and you don't want to buy a lot of clothes and you end up not wearing it. So basically now you create virtual fashion designers. That's also a new, just like data, you need data curator, data steward. These are now new jobs. This brought by IT, which tak ada lagi. So bila masa kecil, bila tanya apa you nak jadi bila you besar, nobody is going to tell you I'm going to be a virtual fashion designer. So this now is what disruptive technology is now creating, new jobs that is now coming in, and I think we need to catch up. with all that, so that we are abreast with what's going to happen and what's going to hit us around the world. And of course, if you're into fashion, what kind of fashion? Because now work from home. Work from home means we are no longer wearing, don't ask me to stand up, right? So bottom line is that we are now in comfortable clothes, and this is the new fashion. And this is the kind of and what kind of material you need. And this is where STI comes in to inject, to create the new material, the new textile that is now needed in order to remain comfortable, but at the same time biodegradable. You see, there's a lot of STI in everything. It's cross-cutting. So fashion is not just fashion, it's fashion injected now with STI. So that makes a lot of difference.
Okay, very interesting, Doctor. Thank you so much. So moving on to the next question from Puan Hidayah. So what is your opinion on the progress of university startup or spin-off in Malaysia? What can be done to increase the success rate?
Okay. First of all, nak buat startup, okay, like for example, in my case, the startup was done by MTDC. Dia ada dua jenis startup. Satu startup UiTM bagi startup, and satu lagi kita memang undergo licensing, and the company together with the venture capitalists, the university and the venture capitalists set up a new company as a startup. And basically when you have that kind yang dengan MTDC, due diligence bagai nak gila. So basically it cannot afford to fail. But the university punya startup is something else. It's like giving you incentive to now start up, and investment T0 pun tak banyak. So bottom line is that how you going to get over the valley of death? Itu something that you need to now be able to undergo, because university startup dia kira mula dahulu, tapi you need to get the real investment from the investors, and like I said, to get that investment you need to exude confidence, you need to exude trust, and you need to exude the ability to deliver the product within the time, and can you afford to spend the kind of time that is needed. And if you tak boleh, especially bila hit dengan COVID sekarang, if you cannot show the agile response, insyaAllah you will enter the valley of death. So there must be a lot of coaching and whatnot to now take over as well. So kebanyakan university startups usually, okay, I ask the reverse question lah. I tanya pada any university sekarang, rata-rata, can the commercialization of R&D in the university be able to support even your 1 month salary? InsyaAllah tak, kan? So basically, commercialization of R&D is not going to be able to support. Professor Nazib, what is going to support is commercialization of ideas, not just commercialization of R&D. Dalam university, I have said when I was DG also, that it is about the university. We have experts that can give consultant. That's commercialization of idea. We can do professional programs. That's commercialization of idea. We can do programs that can upskill, reskill people in either in films, or either in design, or either in the sciences, or either in the professional. That's commercialization of idea. Together with consultancy, with the product of R&D and whatnot, that can support the university. So bila KPI kita hanya diberi pada commercialization of R&D, this is where I rasa that you're not using the full potential of the university to deliver I tak suka panggil income generation, I kata surplus generation. Sebab kita public university, hello, we are not a private university, we are not here to create profit, we should be able to create surplus. Cukup untuk kita dan lebih sikit. Itu surplus. Dia bukan konsep. I think in higher education blueprint pun kita minta surplus, bukan kita minta income generation to create profit. So otherwise you cannot be a public university. So there you are. Itu I punya pandangan, and I can afford to say this because I ada pencen. So that's why.
I understand it. In a way, it means it needs to benefit the society, and especially it needs to benefit in Malaysia first thing
Right,
first.
that's right.
And then
Because
we get there.
if you do human centric, if your startup is human centric, then you're going to deliver products that the Malaysians will continue to buy despite the COVID. And that's why you need the quadruple helix punya discussion, because you need input from industry, you need input from society. Betul ke tak betul? I want something like this. And when you have that, then you will remain resilient despite the COVID. So now you have to startup yang memang tidak ada agile response, insya-Allah will die. Even the big companies pun ada yang tambah pula startup. So that's why I'm trying to say that be there to create that agile response. It's easier because you're smaller. You're smaller. It's easier to turn around. Yeah.
Okay, that goes well with our next question actually. Is there any pool or database of talent in national level for segmentation of expert? For example, on basic proportion, qualitative people with ideas and technical expertise people to execute or materialize the ideas. This one is from Dr. Nirwandi.
Basically kat Malaysia ni kita tak create, actually that should be created by each university, and then kita put it together. Each university you boleh ada mereka yang hebat dalam fundamental, mereka yang hebat dalam technology development. I don't call it applied, but technology development, and then we can combine. And that's why dalam Inform, my own institute pun kita ada Inform is a HICO for diagnostics. So kita ada mereka yang hebat dalam creation of molecular markers, and then there are people yang hebat dalam technology platform, because technology platform boleh digunakan untuk mana-mana produk pun, doesn't matter coming from Inform, so we can license the platform, and then you lock the two. So we patent the biomarker, we patent the platform, and then whoever wants to use the platform, we will not give exclusivity, tapi dia boleh gunakan platform tu untuk buat dia punya own. If dia ada dengue atau dia ada tuberculosis or dia ada whatever, dia boleh log into that particular platform. So we can have already people yang hebat dalam fundamental, people yang boleh buat teknologi platform, dan we have people that put them together, the scientific discovery and the platform to create now the innovation. And itu can be one, macam for me, I went through that all myself, but we cannot afford like that. We need to collaborate, and we need to bring in now people. Products sekarang ni, in order to remain in the market, need to be more complex, and therefore tak boleh dah buat seorang-seorang. That's why I emphasize on collaboration to create the new product. And the way to go forward now, Professor Nazib, is actually sebenarnya is no longer about sendiri-sendiri lah. And the university now need to appreciate the fact that we need to stop and we need to learn from the industry. Pasal apa? Sebab kita kena tahu apa sebenarnya that the industry really want in order to remain competitive, especially dengan MNC. From there, kita akan create in the lab the kind of technology that they really need, and that is what that's going to take off. And from there is where we get our patent, the originality of work that we do, and ni. So when we start to do that, this is not like macam PPRN, this is like high tech. PPRN memang need semua solution yang dia nak tu very simple lah untuk people yang professors at the university. Mungkin Politeknik dapat solve the PPRN SME punya solution, tetapi university punya solution bila nak offer need to now work with the high tech punya group as well, embedded system, cloud server, software, the new kind that we need in order to move even the EE. So this is where we need to discuss, and from there we can now come up and then start to actually move for Malaysia Grand Challenge grant, which is to realize the 10-10 My STIA. The whole of 10-10 My STIA is human centric. You notice that? Semua tu kita minta you pay attention to the socio-economic driver is what? It's the makcik kios. So that's why you need to now human centric as we go forward. So takkan nak kata perkataan tu all the time, but if you don't do home human centric, you cannot produce products that actually now is sellable and sustainable. So, and you need to now work with the industry. So dalam strategic research fund, which is by Malaysia Grand Challenge, is about 15 million per grant. So this is the time now that you work with the quadruple helix to now be able to go forward. Dia bukan sendiri-sendiri dah. So if you want sendiri-sendiri, go ahead. There is always the fundamental yang ada. Tapi after the sendiri-sendiri, then what? So when you start to go technology readiness level 3, 4, 5, 6 sampai 9, you need to now to come in now into the MOSTI punya Grand Challenge Funds. And memang untuk Bitkom, the knowledge that there is Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 3, Tech 4, there is also for spin-off. So if you have now a spin-off, why you bagi hanya 20,000 or 30,000, because dia dapat 3 million or 4 million melalui the Tech 1, Tech 2 funds. So this is the time minda kita kena tukar lah in how we want to do things. It's no longer in a comfort zone of wanting hanya FRGS. Kau tak dapat FRGS menangis terguling-guling, hello, there are the plan B that you need to get. There's Teraju, there's community engagement punya grant. USM can get millions from community engagement punya grant. Not from FRGS, not from MOSTI, but from community engagement grant. There's a lot to help the community. So there's a lot of money there. So minda kena buka as to other ways that we can now be able to get money to do the research. But now is a matter of collaboration.
Okay, thank you, Yang Berbahagia Datuk. So in a way, we as educationists, we cannot work in silos. We cannot work in silos. We need to have a collaborative between education and also industry that will give a good impact on commercialization. Okay, coming up next from Professor Dr. T.S. Chia Yok Quinn. Okay, what is the roadmap for pure science discovery, basic and fundamental theories?
Okay, don't ever say to me that theories cannot help in creating the new technologies that is there that we are using, and fundamental will always drive applied to the next level. So, but in theory form, kadang-kadang dia jadi serendipity that one day they will discover the algorithm or the theory or whatever finding that you have in developing a new product. But bottom line, what I find is that when I was VC at USM, the people in mathematics who are theoretical people, the people in physics who are the theoretical people, are the ones that is very important to move the industry in Penang. Hello. So it's not about the applied people, it is the fundamental people, to move the GAN on GAN, to create the LED for the country that is now the powerhouse and the leader for Malaysia to turn around kita punya GDP. It's all done by the theories of the physics group in Penang, and that is what drives the GAN on GAN platform for LED in the future. And then people in the industry are looking also for mathematics because they do the modeling, and that modeling now help. So there's always but if you sendiri duduk dalam sendiri and you remain in your own corner, you're not going to find out, man, what exactly are you contributing to. But this is where bagi saya matchmaking is very important, and Bitkom and also pejabat TNC PNI need to do the matchmaking. You need to know your people well, to know what I call you guys neutral entities lah. You are the matchmaker. So to become the matchmaker, you need to know who and doing what. Of course, your job is bigger than most universities. You got 18,000, so your job is wider than hell. So basically, you need to now know everyone in all these campuses to now say what is their expertise, and from there you matchmake dengan industry. Like for example, we have engineers who are working on vibration. Kalau you fikir ni vibration, noise, apa benda Allah ni kan. So basically, but for people like Motorola and whatnot, their walkie-talkie, their what, so they need to have this reduce in vibration. So once they come to we bring our UScience and CRES, for example, is a neutral entity that brought the professor in vibration and Motorola together, and they produce solutions that is used not only by Motorola but all the Motorola around the world. So maknanya fundamental has a very strong role to play, provided you are in the same room with the kind of people that probably will need what you have. And to do that, that's why if you cannot meet with them, then you need the matchmakers to move the agenda. So like I said, all of us are comfortable in our own skin, but sometimes we also need to move out from our cocoon to now be able to reach out and needs. But at the end of the day, there's something useful coming out from that fundamental. It's just waiting, it's time. And the faster, like I said, it's like Brownian movement. The faster you collide, the better. And that's what I mean by accelerating and narrowing the gap between the lab to the market. So get out from that cocoon and actually to and help become or pejabat TNC should or the one yang BJIM bahagian jaringan industri dan masyarakat should also be the one that move this together.
Okay, thank you, Yang Bagi Datuk. Alright, moving on, we have the next question from Encik Shazwan Osman. Assalamualaikum, Professor Datuk. I'm interested that you mentioned about post-COVID with 98% of SME innovation is necessity. Now, what you advise to convince local SMEs to embrace the change and trust local technology developed by university? There is a perception among SMEs that local technology is not wow enough to and less marketable compared to foreign technology. So this is what we are an issue that I can see happening now also.
Like I said, first of all, let me get, kita ni ada 98.5% SME dalam Malaysia. The rest MNC, LLC. LLC is large local company that make it big, that has gone to the Forbes like Vitrox. And we have, of course, the MNCs that are here. Okay, and the SMEs memang, because 98% tu kebanyakan mereka yang mempunyai PhD are located in the university. Kan ada tunjuk, and we should have been moving a lot more to the industry. But if the industry are the SME, they cannot afford to bring the PhDs in. Okay, so so that is another solution that academy need to provide to the country, how we want to change that scenario, but that's for another topic of discussion. Now, what is the confidence to bring the trust? Soalnya sekarang ni, first of all, there must be engagement. That's why I kata, how do they know what you have, and how do you know what they want? So if you don't have an engagement, so you have to have this engagement. That's why I panggil neutral entities like CRES, like HTC for halal, they are all neutral entities to now be able, neutral entities, agencies ataupun centers of excellence or group of people that actually are matchmakers lah. They bring people together and they have to be inculcating trust. Because kalau dia tak ada trust, akademia pun tak main, industri pun tak main. So they must inculcate trust. Nampak tak? KIP play a very big role and not just KPI, right? So with trust and trustworthiness is there, then only the academia and the company will sit. You ingat senang ke Shazwan untuk company nak admit what is their vulnerability? You ingat senang? No way. Kepada siapa dia nak cerita, oh they need this because they are faltering. No way. So they must be in a room where there is trust built, that the company will share what is their vulnerability and that what is their need, and then you will share what is it that you can do to help them. So therefore the building of trust is very important for bridging the chasm, the innovation chasm that I talk about, right? So that's why we form neutral entities who dalam konsep connect from Academy Sains, we form 4 neutral entities. One to move digital healthcare, the other one to move halal ecosystem, the third one to move fintech, and the last one is to move the new manufacturing system. So we're going to do all that for, and this is neutral entity helping bring people together, the universities, the masyarakat, to now engage. And once they engage, usually kalau nak move certain industry, we do triple helix, right? But now we need to go to even dalam triple helix, they still need to produce product that masyarakat would want, otherwise they cannot sell pun benda tu. So when we start to do that and open up, that's how we are able to move the concept of collaboration. And that concept barulah sekarang ni, macam I cerita tadi lah pasal vibration lab. We have the professor who can do vibration, and then we have the company who needs the solution to this. But the company doesn't know the professor doesn't know the company. And that's why the neutral entity called CRES bring them together. UiTM pun banyak juga terlibat dalam CRES. So CRES is moving the EE industry in Penang. So bottom line sekarang ni, when that trust is there, and they cerita apa masalah mereka, and the professor can pick it up, and that's where the fundamental is now used to drive. And once you ada one or two success stories like that, there's going to be more, and the industry now begin to trust and non-neutral entity called CRES, because CRES seem to know kat mana boleh buat apa dalam universiti mana boleh buat apa. So it's not just USM, but actually UiTM ataupun UniMap ataupun inilah kebanyakan universiti dalam Northern Corridor, they know who to touch base with what, you know. So in order for them to also do that, perhaps it's also important that the university itself create the expertise, directory of expertise yang boleh kata aku dalam fundamental, or I'm a theorist, or basically the directory of expertise, like what the most RU have done. So that from that directory of expertise lah you can did that. Sama macam Akademi Sains, we have the top research scientists Malaysia, we have our fellows. We created the database so that our search engine, bila every time kata Asru Awani nak some solution to XXX, then we type in the search engine, we find. So these are the list of our fellows and our top research scientists that can now be able to provide some answers because you tahu lah. So when that happens, it's faster also to put people together. So I leave that to the good office of Professor Nazib lah to now be able to see whether that can now be done for the whole of UiTM, but for industry to be able to pick up what UiTM can offer.
Okay, so it's like engagement. I think engagement is very, very important to have mutual understandings and also knowing what the industry needs and required. Okay, one last question. This is a very interesting question from Professor Datuk Azlan Abdul Aziz. Saya ada menghasilkan beberapa produk inovasi pertanian, terutamanya tanaman cili, bagi memberi pendedahan kepada masyarakat untuk menghasilkan hasil tanaman yang selamat dan meningkat pendapatan golongan B40 dan asnaf. Bagaimana nak mengembangkan usaha ini?
Ya Allah, awak tanya I mana Bitcoin? Basically, this is where Bitcoin need to move, you know. Now, I kata macam ni lah sekarang ni. Right now, we are looking for precision agriculture. You know, Professor Nazib, if you look at the 10 trust of National Science Policy, memang precision agriculture is a national agenda sekarang with MADI and whatnot, all looking for that. So growing of chili is one, but growing of chili using precision agriculture technology is the way forward. So and that would succumb all the climate change problem, tak payah disaster ke flood ke, the vegetables and the chili will always be there. So kalau kita dapat inject first apa yang profesor ni dah hasilkan pun boleh dikomersialkan. This is where you need social enterprise maybe to now come in to be able to see how they can bring you to engage. So sebenarnya bagi saya the way USM does, macam kita ada madu kelulut and all that, is to undergo engagement dengan community. So ramai orang padahal dalam blueprint dah minta supaya undergraduate dapat semua buat community engagement. Padahal si postgraduate ni jarang lah nak buat, dia duduk kat lab saja. Dan termasuklah pensyarah dia juga, supervisor dia pun duduk kat lab juga. Jadi this is where sekarang ni under community engagement, how USM move out and found out the needs of the community, and this is where we come back to the lab and actually created this madu kelulut lah, ikan keli lah, whatever, but with the injection of STI, so that now when they they are apa orang kata canggih lah sikit, dia orang punya, they can create circular economy. Tu another word pula dah. Dengan chili itu saja, is it can we now do something else such that circular economy can now be done and not just chili as the outcome. So when we start thinking like that, benda tu is much more in line and aligned to the priorities of the country, and this is where I think we need that kind of injection lah, Prof. Ni nak buat macam tu chili saja pun boleh, tapi like I said, kalau dia move into the arena of precision agriculture, dia akan mendapat banyak perhatian, especially with the corridors. So if you have already something like this, Northern Corridor wants to move precision agriculture to the Northern Corridor, I mean you have UiTM everywhere, So Prof. Nazib, this is probably a time for you to see what the Northern Corridor can, maybe you can collaborate, call up the Northern Corridor to actually move, because dia punya agenda is also on precision agriculture. I rasa Southern Corridor, Eastern Corridor juga nak move precision agriculture, and this is where a little bit of orang kata fine tuning, create that circular economy, and perhaps that would be the way forward for your product, Prof, to tolong B40.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. Right, next, we still have a few questions. Another 2 questions to go. Datuk, what is your opinion on Technology Commercialization Agency (TCA)? How does TCA can help to boost commercialization, especially on innovation at university?
Okay, TCA will be launched, I think by next month. So it's not proper for me. Although TCA is mooted by Akademi Sains Malaysia, I personally had presented it to National Science Council and it was approved. But basically dia nak kena launch, so kena tunggu dia launch lah. Baru saya boleh cakap in more detail. But essentially TCA is like the A-star of Singapore. It should be able now to drive all economic-oriented research. There are research that is fundamental, and then there's research for society, whatever. But if it is leaning towards economic-oriented research, it will go through TCA, and TCA will create neutral entities like to move EE, neutral entity to move halal, neutral entity to move all these things, so that now whatever the findings that you have in the university can now be brought forward and creating an industry. You tahu tak, macam kalau you all buat commercialization or R&D, satu produk create satu company. Itu you ingat itu hebat ke? That is okay, but it's not good enough because it does not create an industry. You faham tak? Hanya satu company. So that company is not an industry yet. So kalau industri, kita kena create beberapa yang sama dalam konsep yang demikian. And that's why we have now iConnect or the TCA to now create this neutral entity that will bring an industry. Bila you jadi industri, you are the value chain. Right, you are the value chain. So that's why it's now needed to now create the value chain for chili, for example, and that. So even for halal, the value chain for halal need to all to be there, because if we don't have a proper value chain, then kalau satu company fall down or falter, then the value chain tak complete. You faham tak? If you even want to make halal material, you need the raw material, you need this and you need that to create the final halal product. But when anything down the value chain falter because of COVID ataupun the falter maknanya kena tutup ke apa, suddenly you are now stop short of the supply to now continue. So that's why the ecosystem needs to be there as well. So the ecosystem is supposed to be created by TCA. And TCA will move talent development. It will move obviously industry creation dengan cara menggunakan collaborative concept of and there are 3 parts that TCA will do. One is to move the collaborative ecosystem macam CRES, macam HTC, to create the halal industry better, or the EE industry better, or fintech better, or system manufacturing, new engineering manufacturing better. Ataupun TCA juga akan lead for commercialization of R&D, the way we are doing now lah, licensing lah apa. And the third one is to create human adaptive STEM talent that is industry ready, that is ready for the high-end punya development. Bukan maknanya university boleh produce engineer, but from the TCA dia akan upskill, reskill the engineer to now be able to cater for the current industries that is needed, cloud, data steward, and that kind of stuff. So you can be coming up from any field, but you can be retrained and reskilled to now be able to fit the kind of needs that is needed to drive our industry to become high technician. Sebab ramai daripada universiti, wallah, dia tak faham apa dia. Memang kita duduk dalam teori dan kita memang comfortable dalam kita punya akademik. Now, bila saya pencen ni baru saya boleh nampak betapanya kita very much in our own academic impact. So everything that we are doing is actually academic impact. To create a sustainable change in society, or impact as you want to call it, it has to go beyond academia. beyond academia. So this is where we falter. Kita kena belajar lah. And kita PhD kan, semua pandai-pandai. So we should be able to catch up quite fast in doing this. So one fast way is community engagement, where we actually engage and we know what's going on. And the other one is industry engagement. So we need to have both lah. But like I said, don't force people. It is round pegs in round hole. Okay, you're muted.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so industry engagement and also community engagement is very important. It's very crucial actually to create impacts towards commercialization on research. Thank you so much, Yang Berbahagia Datuk, for all the answers given. And I think we have covered all the questions posed by our researchers. I hope everyone will have some good insights from Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail. Thank you so much, Datuk, for your session today. So before we end our session, I would like to invite Director of Business Innovation and Technology Commercialization Center, Professor Madya IRTS Dr. Syed Satir, for some final words of appreciation. Please welcome PM Dr. Syed.
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang berbahagia Datuk, on behalf of BICOM, the NCPI office and UiTM, I would like to thank you very much for sharing your experience with us. You have given a lot of useful insights and valuable advice on how we academicians can create impact beyond academia through commercialization of university research and by contributing to the wealth of the nation. I'm sure everyone attending our webinar today has been inspired by your presentation. And I particularly, I like your points on how we should supposed to approach the research from A to Z instead of from Z to A instead of A to Z. Yeah.
From Z to A, yeah.
I believe that majority of us are still doing the A to Z kind of things, including myself. Yeah. So this is something that we need to think about. And another point that I like is the importance of balancing the impact and the impact factor. So to all the participants, thank you for making the time to be with us today. And feel free to contact BICOM to discuss on any commercialization potentials. And we are happy to help everyone to translate your ideas, innovations into impact, and to bring your discoveries from research to from lab to market. And this is in line with our tagline, bringing ideas to life. And finally, don't forget to follow our IG and FB page. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Okay, again, thank you so much to Yang Berbahagia Datuk and also Dr. Syed. Okay, before we end our session, I would like to invite everyone to put on your camera for a quick photo session. So all participants are invited for a photo session. Okay, you guys can on your camera.
I can see some familiar faces. Apa-apa, Maka.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Encik Syaiful and Puan Lin, can you help to screenshot the picture? Okay, Encik Syaiful, are you there?
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, one more candid
Okay.
picture.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Puan Lin. Thank you so much again, Yang Berbahagia Datuk, for joining our session for today. Is there any final words of advice from you to our researchers?
Hello. As far as I'm concerned, I think I've shared what I wanted to say. I know there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I wish you all a lot of luck. If there is a need, Prof. Nazib, for another engagement, because topic ni besar. So and people probably need to deep dive certain areas lagi. Probably that then there is a different session altogether. So contact me if there is a need, and I can probably try to schedule in the time for UiTM, insyaAllah. There are many friends that I see there. Hello dan Assalamualaikum. Lama tak jumpa, terpaksa kena jumpa secara virtual ya sekarang. Don't know when we can have coffee together, but for that time, lama dah juga saya pun tak pergi kat Shah Alam punya campus. Okay, nice to see all of you, and all the best. And I wish all the best also for the early career researchers. You got a long way to go. It's unfortunate that we have this COVID now, but don't take it positively, and for everyone as well, take it positively. There's a lot of learning lessons that's provided by COVID that we should all take notice of. And then use that to be resilient in the future. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Yang Berbahagia
Thank you so
Datuk.
much again, Datuk, for your time. I truly appreciate this.
Lepas ni.
Inshallah, we can conduct another session since it's a big topic. Inshallah, that one will come in the future for the reference for all researchers. Inshallah. Okay. So we have come to an end of our sharing session. Thank you so much to Yang Berbahagia Datuk. Thank you so much to Yang Berbahagia Professor Nazib and Dr. Syed. And thank you everyone for gracing today's event. We hope to see you again in our next webinar sharing session. Thank you and have a nice day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Datuk.
Hi, thank you.